Hi guys, my name is Shane Cuthbert and welcome back again. One thing I want to talk about in this video is something that really happens a lot, okay? It happens a lot in therapy. A lot of people go to therapy or reach out to me, on social media or whatever platform that is. They say words to the effect of, I know something up here in my mind is this is the way something appears to be, or I know that that's what's happening, but I can't help but feel this certain way about that thing. So when you're in a situation and you know that something's not right, okay? You know that logically, but you still can't help but feel sort of, trapped or stuck in that particular situation. For example, you may know that you're in a toxic relationship, okay? Things aren't working out, you're fighting all of the time. You know that it's not right, you know that it's not healthy, yet you still feel, love and passion towards this person and you can't bring yourself, to leave them. Okay, so what's happening here is there's an incongruency between the way you think and the way that you feel. So I want to address what's going on and why is there such a difference, why is there such a gap between what we think and how we feel? And why is it that when we think a certain way, we don't feel the same way that we think, okay? Why is there such a big difference between what we think and what we feel? That's what we're going to talk about in this lesson. The aim really in this particular video is to try and get our mind and our thoughts and the way we think about things to line up with the way that we feel. Because the things that we feel, our feelings really control our actions. Okay, when people get aggressive and they hurt people, it's because they had, some sort of feeling. Or when people get scared, they run away. Our feelings are what controls, really, in a large part, is our actions. So if we want to change our actions, we want to fix our problems, we want to stop doing certain things, not only do we need to change, our thinking, but we need to change the way we feel, which is also a result of our thinking. Okay, so the aim of this video is to try and get our mind to line up with the way that we feel, just a little bit better, okay? Over time we can practice it. With practice, like a muscle, it's going to grow. Like you can train it, it gets bigger and it gets better, it gets stronger. So that's the aim of this video. As a coach that uses psychotherapy, as a therapeutic technique, I use it a lot. I have to talk about the unconscious mind. Now, you may have heard the term unconscious mind before, or subconscious mind. Basically, subconscious, unconscious, it means the same thing, okay? And another thing that people do when they come to therapy and they talk about these sorts of things is they always question, where is my unconscious mind? What is my unconscious mind, okay? And as we develop an understanding of what that is, it's important that we talk about where that is. Now, your unconscious mind, you would be forgiven for thinking, obviously, it's in your brain, it's a part of your mind, it's up here somewhere. And although it's, although it's fairly common and normal to think that's where, our unconscious mind in, our whole physiology of the human body, okay, is contributing to, our unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind is in fact within every part of the body. What's important to learn about the human body is we have what's called neurotransmitters that are not only in our brain, but throughout, different parts of our body. And neurotransmitters are transmitting, chemical messages throughout our body at all times. Right now, you've got neurotransmitters sending messages throughout your body that are helping you feel a certain way, just as you're watching this video. And neurotransmitters, as I said before, aren't just located in the brain. They're located throughout our whole, our whole body. Our whole nervous system is made up of neurotransmitters. They include dopamine, noradrenaline, and even serotonin. You know, things you may have heard of before. Something you may not be aware of is that the majority of our serotonin is actually produced and synthesized, you know, in our stomach, in our intestinal system. Because serotonin is the chemical that really makes us feel happy or feel sad, you know, depending on the levels of serotonin in our body. So, you know, most antidepressants, you know, either they sort of, you know, lift your serotonin or drop it, or most often than not, they inhibit it. So they sort of just block it. Okay, so they just block it altogether, which is why it's common for people on antidepressants to, although they don't feel as depressed, they also don't feel as happy, you know, in situations. They sort of end up feeling quite, you know, quite level all of the time, you know, quite flat. And that's just because the body's natural serotonin levels have sort of been, you know, cancelled out. They've been inhibited. When people say, I have a gut feeling about this, you know, that's pretty true. That's not entirely metaphorical. I'm sure you can relate to experiencing, you know, at least one point in your life when you've had a gut instinct, you know, a gut feeling about something. And that is because of those receptors in our stomachs that are producing a lot of serotonin. Now that we have an understanding and awareness that our unconscious mind is actually, you know, a part of our whole body, and we know why we then feel things throughout our whole body, we can then understand moving forward and become more aware of when we're having some of those pivotal moments we talked about in the first few videos. So you might recognize, you know, the point in which someone's having that pivotal moment. The pivotal moment is the point when they've taken something that they know of consciously, but it's been accepted unconsciously. So it might look as though, you know, if you were to visualize this and see this in somebody else, when someone else is sort of, you know, it sort of looks like they're taking a large breath, but they've taken sort of like they've just taken a moment to really take something in. And it happens, you know, when we're having conversations, when we're trying to explain things or articulate things to people. You know, you'll get someone that sort of takes a little minute to just process it. And, you know, they're sort of eyes wander, they're looking at the sky, they're looking down at the ground, and, you know, take a big breath in. And they're actually, you know, letting go of that previous sort of, you know, unhealthy thought or problem, as their unconscious mind has finally accepted what it is that you have tried to portray to it on a conscious level. It's the moment of realization, and it's also the moment of acceptance. It's the point in which an idea goes from your mind and sinks back into your unconscious.